So hi and welcome to another episode, a special episode of the Human Centered Leadership Podcast. And you've probably figured out that I'm not in my home office. And here's the thing, I'm not even in the UK. So I'm here in the beautiful sunny climes of Sri Lanka. And I'm staying a couple of days with my friend Vidusha, who is an amazing individual. I'll tell you what, we're going to have a conversation, Vidusha and I. We've been talking, haven't we, for the last 2 days as we've been traveling around. Vidusha's been showing us around the Kandy area of Sri Lanka. And if you haven't been to Sri Lanka, please do explore the Kandy area. Today we've explored some amazingly sort of historical Buddhist temples, so I definitely recommend it. So Vidusha, you know me, I get tongue-tied with Sri Lankan names. He has a very impressive name. So would you mind just saying your name?
Yes, so it's Vidusha Nathavitharana.
Nathavitharana.
Yes.
Have I got that right?
Yeah, good enough.
Brilliant. And mine's boring. Even call my head. But listen, welcome to a very special episode. And Vidusha and I were chatting in the car. And thank you so much for driving us around and showing us this beautiful area.
Great pleasure. It's good to have you finally.
The first time we actually had a conversation was on the Human Centered Leadership Podcast, wasn't
Absolutely.
it? On one of the episodes.
Yes, it was.
And I remember the conversation there. It was a rich conversation. And what I really enjoy when we chat is the deeply philosophical nature of our understanding of what leadership really means. Just describe your background and your introduction to leadership and this amazing company and Vidusha's got lots of dogs. They are the friendliest dogs in the world. So Vidusha,
yes.
Just talk to me about the background of your leadership journey.
I kind of started out in advertising and brand management before I went in to do my bachelor's. Soon after the bachelor's was done, went into manufacturing.
Yeah.
By a queer twist of fate, went into a whole heap of other areas and ended up in HR, which is where I spent the bulk of my time.
Yeah.
Again, quite by chance, started out on my own. Mm-hmm. And it's there that I think that I really understood why it mattered so much. When you're inside an organization and you're leading teams, you don't think much about it. But when you actually have to do that for someone else, then you start taking a step back.
Yes, absolutely.
Start looking at it holistically and also understanding all the dots that connect, because most of the time when you're in an organization, everything else is taken care of for you, right? You have to only focus on what you need to do.
Absolutely.
But when you have to look at the overall organization, you realize that any one of those little missing pieces has a direct impact on what I call the ecosystem that leadership operates within.
Yeah.
So policies, procedures, the infrastructure, the people themselves, the culture that has the organization being built in, the legacy that it has created, the work they need to do, all of that has a direct impact on leadership. So unfortunately, most of the time, we tend to think of leadership as this monolithic, homogeneous thing.
Yeah.
And it's not.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, you do need to customize it to suit the specific context in which it operates.
So, and these are some of the richness of the conversations. You can just understand the philosophical nature. Not many people have these kind of discussions when it comes to leadership, but you've been here now in Sri Lanka, and for the past 21 years, you've
on
been
my own, yes,
working with organizations, not just in Sri Lanka, but across many, many countries, ranging from leadership development, leadership training, leadership coaching, now consultancy and helping with strategic planning. So you've worked with a lot of companies, a lot of organizations, a lot of industries across so many different countries and cultures. And what's the one common thing, would you say, that you see with leadership?
Well, I see a few actually across everything. The first is, I'm talking from a client perspective,
Yeah.
So from a client perspective, one of the biggest problems is I don't think they've quite associate leadership as a role or a function a person performs vis-a-vis the hierarchy and the title. That's one big problem.
I'm so pleased you said that, because we talked about this at length, didn't we?
So that's very common. Yeah. So the moment you say leadership, you think of a manager, or you think of a title, and you think of a role that you play within the hierarchy versus a role or a function you perform as part of a process. So that's one. So the second one actually is that most of the time we misunderstand leadership to be about yourself, the leader, versus what you do in leadership.
Yeah.
And what you do as a leader towards others.
Yeah.
So you forget the fact that it's about them and you think it's about you. So
Absolutely.
that's a common misconception.
And it's almost driven by a sense of ego.
Absolutely. It's about you.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not conscious.
Yeah. This is not saying that leaders are egotistic, but
Absolutely.
it's driven by a sense of ego. And very often it's an unconscious.
Absolutely. It's very much an unconscious thing. And most of the time you take the complete onus of doing everything for yourself because you think that that is the responsibility.
Yeah. And often that's driven by the organizational culture,
Absolutely.
isn't it?
Absolutely. The third one, I think, that is very common across industries, across even the size of the organization, right? Whether it's a small organization, medium-scale organization, or a large organization, is that we think leadership is about the person and perfecting the person, so to say.
Right.
Without understanding that it is a collective effort. You might have a set of strengths, I might have a set of strengths, and somebody else might have another completely different set of strengths. But as the situation demands it, we need to be fluid enough to say, you lead this part of it, he needs to lead that other part of it, and I will take over this.
Yeah.
Which means that as much as you take leadership, I must be comfortable being a follower.
Absolutely.
At that moment in time.
To relinquish this title, this position of being a leader.
And authority, and say, it's all right, on this part of the process, I would actually play second fiddle. So these three things I think are
we've
very,
talked about these three things. I'm so pleased you brought them into that category in that sort of order. On the first point, I often talk about leadership fluidity. And what I mean by that is that leadership is something that I believe should be fluid in an organization. One of my favorite phrases used to be, when I was a leader in the police service, I don't hold a monopoly on good ideas.
Absolutely.
Because who would hold a monopoly on everything? Just because you're a leader does not mean, or should not mean, that you know everything about everything. So our organizations are riddled with incredible experts, and they can be the most junior of people, but they will have an expertise in an area that maybe you as a leader don't even know about.
Absolutely.
And when there is a need for that level of expertise, surely the leader would have to listen to that individual who's the expert, even if they are the most junior in the organization. And that's sort of the point that you make, isn't it? That we transfer this action of being a leader to someone else, but it doesn't mean that we lose a sense of hierarchy in the organization. And the two are different things, aren't they?
They are. And most of the time, the title is about a management aspect of it, or a governance aspect of it. And I don't think as an organization you can relinquish it.
No.
I really don't think so, especially in a private sector organization. If you're a senior manager, you are responsible for your stakeholders, your shareholders. And you can't turn around and say, no, you know what, I delegated that to somebody junior.
Same in the public sector, really.
Absolutely.
I mean, you have an onus, you have a duty of care.
Absolutely.
To carry out your leadership responsibilities. But that doesn't mean you can't relinquish the action of being a leader in a moment.
Absolutely. So if you don't take the title aspect of it and the hierarchy aspect of it as one thing, but the whole process of leading, right? The process of leading requires you, in my opinion at least, by default, there has to be many elements to it. Because forget just the good idea aspect of it, or the monopoly on a good idea. What about skill? Right? I might be a fantastic visionary. I might suck at execution, 100%. Right? I might be fantastic with people, but I might not be necessarily good with tech. So I don't think we can have the skills, the competencies, or the right behaviors all packaged into one person and expect that
there
person
are very,
to play
very
God.
few people in the whole world.
I don't think we have any.
I don't think I've ever met one. If I'm honest, I don't think I've ever met one.
Conceptually, it's possible. But practically, you have to play God at that point.
I was just thinking about Buddha. We've been to the Buddhist temples today.
Absolutely.
And, you'd have to achieve that level of perfection to achieve that level of nirvana, right?
And that kind of person will sit under a tree, not inside the boardroom of an organization.
Absolutely.
Right?
So this is where I think, from a human-centered leadership perspective, there is a sense of a leader needs to manage their ego.
Absolutely.
To allow them to pass this sense of leadership around from expertise to expertise around the organization for the greater good of the organization.
Absolutely.
Whether that's to drive the bottom line performance, or whether it's to bring a team together, or whether it's to generate new ideas, isn't it?
So all of them to me interlink. So you do need to generate new ideas, work with people towards the objectives of the organization, which is the bottom line, whether it's a triple bottom line or just the financial bottom line. So towards that, I think two aspects, right? The first is for you to be human-centric. I think a couple of prerequisites are required.
Right.
The first is an acknowledgement that you're not it.
Yeah.
Right. That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two is that it is all right for someone else to shine apart from you. The third is it's all right for the other person who's taking leadership to fail, and for you to be there to make sure that you manage the fallout, rather than saying, I told you so.
Or to point fingers
and say that's on him or her. And very importantly, I think a common understanding that collectively we can do a hell of a lot more than I would ever do individually. These are mindsets. And it requires a certain level of maturity as a prerequisite. And it also requires a certain level of humility as a prerequisite. It also requires a certain level of confidence, if I may use the word very loosely and very contextually. Confidence in yourself of your own adequacy.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because otherwise, the moment you're slightly unhinged and you're not confident of yourself, what happens is you see everyone who has talent as a threat. Versus an ally. So I think those prerequisites are essential. Otherwise, you just won't function as a human-centric manager.
As you're talking there, I'm thinking now of the sense of competition. So I worked in an organization. As I went up in the organization, I now recall that every time I went for the next step, there was a sense of competition.
Sure.
If I wanted to be the very best that I could possibly be, I still had to maintain this sense of competition, i.e. looking over your shoulder to see what your peers are doing so that you could be better than your peers. I wonder if that sense of competition that we often drive in organizations goes against the kind of thinking that you're talking about there.
That's a good one, and I honestly don't have an answer to that. I think organizations are built to compete. Unfortunately, because there's only one position at the top, right? So I think we have a design flaw in that.
Because we have this funnel.
That's right. We have a funnel, we have a pyramid, and we do have position-related seniority versus competence-based seniority.
I like this.
Right? What you have is, therefore, there can be only one. That's a zero-sum game to play. I don't have a particular answer for it, but I do have a couple of illustrative examples of how it can be avoided. So, in certain organizations, you have...
We should almost put something on the screen here saying, pay extra for this piece of information, because this could be golden nuggets here, right?
Yes. But in certain organizations, you have two parallel streams. One is a management stream for you to climb up the ladder as a people manager. And obviously, the higher you go, the higher you get paid. But parallelly, you actually have a technical ladder as well. You might not necessarily be the manager, but you could be a technical expert bar none by perfecting your craft every single day. So people don't report to you, but you're such a good technical expert that you probably earn as much as your peer manager who now overlooks you. So there are two parallel hierarchies in that sense, both being paid equally well. That allows an individual to not necessarily vie for the position, but to vie to be the best you possibly can be.
I.e. to compete with yourself.
Absolutely.
Maintain like a sense of growth mindset.
Absolutely.
So I don't think this has been taught enough in our societies across the world. This sense of competition has been the overriding thing that we're taught from the moment that we are born. So consequently, it's no surprise that as you go into organizations, into business...
We build this in schools itself.
Absolutely. From the word go.
Go, right? I mean, because you have to come first in class, and that can be only first. But here's a radical idea, right? I've always often argued, and many of my friends joke at me saying, that's because, you know what? we weren't exactly the number one material. So maybe you're jaded in your thinking. But think about this for a moment, okay? What happens if you split the marks 50-50 and say 50% of your marks comes from what you get for a grade? And if you're really good, we're going to give you 2 more people to work with who are not so good. And the rest of the 50% of the marks is how much they improve. Similarly, if you're not really good, 50% of your marks comes from your own grade. But 50% of the marks is how much you have learned from somebody else and can actually show improvement on. Now imagine the dynamic of that, right? I am now responsible for your marks and you're responsible for learning from me. That changes the dynamic of competition completely. Now, in sport, I get it. You can't run 100 meters collectively.
And what we're not saying here is that we should eradicate the sense of competition.
At all, because healthy competition is really good. But competition being the only barometer inside an organization might be really counterproductive, because imagine you getting ahead of me. We are both peers. We start at the same time. And you get the promotion and not me. Now, if I really didn't deserve it, maybe I can reconcile with it. But imagine if both of us were equally good, and for whatever reason the boss favored you. I'm going to see you negatively from tomorrow onwards. And that's a pretty darn nasty place for you to be, and for me to be.
It's de-energizing.
Absolutely. Right? And both of us will not bring our best, because you're going to look over your shoulder, and I'm going to hate you for it. So yes, can it be resolved by making sure that we are both mature and etc. etc.? Yes, of course. But that's not the general human norm and not the general human condition. So I think organizations need to look at competition in one aspect of it, but counterbalance that with enough environments for collaboration. And simply going on a weekly retreat or something like that, annual retreat, and doing some
annual 2 days away
is not going to solve the problem.
So we get this all the time, don't we? A senior executive team, and I work almost exclusively now with the executive teams. They get jaded, they get exhausted, they have a lot of things on their plate, and sometimes it can get very fractious.
Of course,
there's heads being butted.
That is the norm.
And it comes from this sense of competition sometimes.
Absolutely.
So to then go to a hotel for 2 days a week, and maybe in the countryside in the UK, is quite a normal thing to do. But I'm not entirely sure that actually resolves anything. To be nice to each other for 2 days a year is not enough. So you have to put the work in, is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
We have to culturally shift the thinking of an executive team, and therefore the rest of the organization.
And not only culturally, I think structurally too. See, structurally, look at the design element of a KPI. We most of the time have cannibalizing KPIs. I'll give you a quick, good example of this, right? So you get sales, and I get the cost of sales.
I hear this all the time.
You can afford to give an incentive.
The sales team versus the marketing team versus the production team and so forth and so on.
Versus the finance team, right? Now, my point is, why can't we as a senior management team own one KPI? It doesn't matter what function, and let me figure out what my function needs to contribute towards it. But the contribution towards it is an input, not an output. And we measure outputs, don't we? We don't measure inputs, right? When you measure an output, imagine all of us collectively being held accountable and responsible for the bottom line. Now, it really doesn't matter whether I've met my KPI or not. What matters is whether the business has met the KPI. And even the way we cascade down KPIs, we look at it purely functionally. Right? But imagine if you take a look of the overall goal, and we turn around and ask, what are the critical success factors that needs to be there in place for the goal to be met? Now, if you're looking at that, you're not looking at a function. You're looking at critical success factor that maybe we jointly have to be responsible for, or maybe exclusively responsible for. But we figure that out later. So the conversation inside organizations, structurally and design-wise, I think we are designed to fail because we breed competition which is really unhealthy, versus asking ourselves, how should we positively contribute towards it? The functional arrangement, again, we have to have functions. No one's disputing that.
So I think 2 words come to my mind here as you're talking, and these are not new words: cohesion and collaboration.
Absolutely.
And I think the two need to come together at some point in time.
Absolutely.
How can we collectively, together, drive the performance of our organization, our team, whether that's public sector, private sector, it matters not.
Doesn't matter.
Because at the end of the day, it's a collection of human beings.
Absolutely.
And we have the challenge in the battle, even though we get to the exalted positions of, the number one leader in the organization, we all have this battle of unlearning a lot of what society has taught us in the past, particularly around this issue around competition.
Yep.
I don't know if you watched the Mark Carney speech in Davos.
Yes.
I had to watch it twice because there was some real sledgehammer moments for me, some real awakening moments. And when he was talking about the world order as we knew it is changing, and it's not just a transition, it's a rupture. Those words stay with me because I think they're really powerful words. And I think forget geopolitics, because he was talking specifically around geopolitics, but I think there's a massive shift in leadership thinking right now. And we're on the precipice right now, politically, organizationally, individually. We are on the precipice or at a crossroads of either going down the wrong route or the right route. And I think there's such a change in the world that there's a requirement for a different kind of leadership. And I think
it's long overdue.
Most.
I saw this
piece of work from, I think it's Forbes magazine, that talked about there's a new kind of leadership that's coming up, and it's quiet leadership. And quiet leadership requires human-centric thinking, your ability to build relationships, your ability to have strong emotional intelligence, all of the things that we're talking about right now in terms of collaboration and cohesion, because they're fundamental ingredients, aren't they? So what do you think the new leader looks like going forward? And we were talking about intergenerational thinking and so forth. I mean, that's a whole different subject, but it sort of feeds into that, doesn't it? That there's so many different generations coming together. The world of leadership is rupturing right now. We're on the precipice, on the crossroads of a new way of thinking. But what do you think this new leader looks like going forward? If we were to, if you and I were to design the ideal leader that's going to help shape the world, shape our organization for the better, what would that look like to you?
So here's the thing. I honestly think that there's nothing new. So whenever people talk about the future, I often tell people look to the past, because there is a lot of good leadership that is unfortunately uncelebrated. Because the new leader, if you want to call it that, right, that needs to take charge, should be the uncelebrated leader of the past.
I like this.
Because the uncelebrated leader, and I can give you an example. So about last week, we went for a book launch, and that's the book I gave you.
Right.
Of Tony Nathavitharana. He's one of the people I look up to all the time. Give you a quick context to it. So he started out his career, I think, when he was about 17, 18 years old. He was the eldest in the family, had to take on responsibility after his father died.
Right.
And started with the Hyderabadi group when, I think, as almost a casual hand on a weekly pay.
Right.
Rose all the way to being the CEO of the organization. And if memory saves me right, and I can't be 100% sure, but approximately 10 to 15 years at the helm of the organization. He's one of those people where if he actually tells one of the people that worked with him at the time, and he's been retired nearly 10 years now, or 15 years, if he tells one of us to just turn up, we will turn up. Now, there's nothing in it for us. It's out of sheer respect. But if you take a look, if you just go down to Google and type out Tony Nathavitharana, there'll be no more than 1 or 2 articles that appear about him. In the entire tenure of 15 years, at the helm of probably one of the largest organizations in Sri Lanka, overlooking probably one of the largest or second largest, third largest population of employees of any CEO. Right? Why is that? Because we propagate whatever we celebrate. And what do we celebrate? We celebrate the car, not the person in it. We celebrate the number, not how he got there. We celebrate the personality without the core character of the person, because that never gets questioned. So, especially today, when the glossy magazines will literally take your picture and give you a spotlight if you're willing to pay a certain amount of money, without due diligence about finding out whether the fact is true or not to begin with. What do you do? So the uncelebrated person of the past to me looks like this. He's a person who gets the job done without too much fanfare. He puts the organization before himself. He ensures that the results come through people, not at the cost of people. He's a person who's supremely confident in themselves, who is willing to teach others, ensure that they bring out the best in others, and very, very importantly, allow other people to lead and humbly follow when required. Now, these are not celebrated characters because they're not hugging the spotlight.
But all of these characteristics that you've described there would be exactly the characteristics I would use to describe a human-centric leader.
Absolutely. And you and I both know people like that.
Yeah.
And they're not exceptions, right? There are plenty of them. It's just that we don't highlight them.
Part of the challenge is that we are living in a world where it is now normalized to listen to the person that shouts the loudest.
Absolutely, and charismatic, right?
Yeah, we're living in this charismatic world, aren't we?
We have an entire theory on it as well. We teach it. We talk about charismatic leadership, transformational leadership.
Absolutely.
But transformational how?
Yeah.
It's the how that is missing. So we only celebrate the what, never the how. So it doesn't matter how you did it, but if you drive a Lamborghini, you're it. If you have a fancy office, you're it.
I think this is so true. And you're right. There are plenty of these people around, but because we're not shouting about them, or they don't shout about themselves,
and they'll never shout about themselves.
So I'm just writing my book. Oh my goodness. Writing a book is like the hardest thing in the world for me. But I'm writing my book, Human-Centered Leadership. I've just written the first draft. And I'm searching in my mind, obviously, for lots of stories to bring a point to life, because I'm all about pragmatism. And I was talking about what it looks like, what it feels like to have a human-centric leader. And the person that came to my mind, out of the 6 or 7 chief constables I've ever worked with, was one in particular. And all of the characteristics that you just described there, when I reflect back and I'm listening to you, I can put the same characteristics on this one individual. His name was John Newing. When you Google John Newing, I was looking for images of him. I found one image of this chief constable, and what he achieved in that period that he was chief constable. He took over our police force of 2,000 people. We were the poorest police force in the whole of the United Kingdom. We had just lost our certificate of efficiency. We were the only police force that was basically told that you're not good enough by Her Majesty's Inspectors of Constabulary. And essentially it was all because we didn't have enough money. And we didn't have enough money because we had a local council that part-funded the police force. That was a very left-wing council. And we had a national government that also part-funded our force. That was a very right-wing government. So the two were clashing, and we became the political tennis ball. He comes along, and what he did was build relationships. He stitched together relationships inside the organization, outside the organization. I mean, we were in such a state inside the organization. We were struggling so much that we were told at one point that we shouldn't drive our police vehicles for more than 20 miles on a night shift, that we should park up and save petrol and so forth and so on. Some people would joke and say we were even counting paper clips. I'm not sure how true that was, but some colleagues...
It tells you the context of it. Yes.
I think it contextualizes it lovely. But he comes along without any noise, really. He was the person who remembered you. You met him once, he remembered your name. And you could go up to his office at any time and he would talk to you. If he met you in a corridor, he'd remember the last thing that you'd... He had this innate skill around human beings, this ability to build relationships, this ability to connect with people at all levels, and this ability to involve people in the solution as well. So he brought people together in an organization that's quite fractious. But who knows that?
Absolutely.
Outside of the people that eventually worked with him, who knows that? Nobody.
And therein lies the problem, right? So I think in order for us to visualize a leader of the future that looks fundamentally different versus slightly from a modicum of, you can repackage something. My worry with the new conversations around leadership is that we are just repackaging the same damn thing. It's not fundamentally different.
How often do we do this though? we work in cycles, and it's normally 15 to 20 year cycles. We repackage something that we've delivered well in the past, repackage it, call it something different,
else,
and behave as if it's innovative.
Absolutely. It's not. And I don't think there's enough credit given to the people who actually do things.
Yeah.
I think that's the fault, right? Because there is an aspect of marketing in this. I think leadership requires the right kind of leadership, requires people to take it out there and market the hell out of it.
Yeah.
Because most of the time a youngster who comes into an organization has two pretty stark choices to make.
Yeah.
Either you can play it right and get nowhere, or you can play it wrong and get to the top. And look around you, right? So if you're given the choice, now if you come from relative wealth and you have the ability to play by certain rules of yourself and stay true to them, good on you. But most people in the world don't have that choice. They come from relative poverty. They have no other option but to do their job. And they will do whatever it takes to get to the top. And that's the only example of a role model you have. Where are the people who got to the top, making sure that they never let go of the core values that they held?
Part of that is that we don't celebrate this enough.
Absolutely.
It is happening.
It's happening enough and more times.
But it's just not being celebrated.
It's not being celebrated enough. And the reversal is not true also. When are we taking a pot shot at people who got to the top the wrong way? And when are we going to call it out? And we don't. Because everybody then starts paying homage to you. Because you're right at the top and you have positions of power, you have the levers of authority, and you exercise it. And
the more you exercise it, the more sycophantic other people become.
Absolutely.
And therefore, the more it becomes normalized.
So it becomes a self-perpetuating reality, right? Two things need to happen parallelly. We need to celebrate the right type of people. And we do need to take a pot shot at the wrong type of people and say, you know what? I'm not going to work for you. And I think the best thing that you can do is not to work for a boss like this. Grow enough of a spine to turn around and say, and this is where I have a little bit of hope with the new generation. And I become extremely unpopular for saying this. But I do wish the young generation don't make the same mistakes we made, which is to bite our lip and stomach it and put on with it because we didn't have a choice.
Well, there's a part of me that is hoping that that is the case, that we know that the generation Z is largely around values and having a sense of freedom to express themselves
without fear,
without any sense of fear. Psychological safety is what they're craving for. Well, let's hope that they can create that,
because I think
and bring some of us old people along with them. You know,
I look at leadership in the reverse. I think great followers make good leaders versus the other way around.
I agree.
So if you have a bunch of people who's going to hold you accountable and call you out unashamedly, unequivocally, you imagine what that's going to do to you. Either I'm going to get out of that space because it's too much for me to handle, or I'm going to think long and hard before I make decisions because I know I'm under the microscope and I know somebody will call me out. That's a good enough check and balance. And that's not to say that the balance of power should tip so largely towards that the leader should be dysfunctional and cannot make unpopular demands. There is a fine line between this, right? So I don't think it's one or the other. I think it should be one and the other. You need to have a strong leader who is willing to stand firm if he thinks this is the right way to do it. At the same time, you need to have a bunch of people around you and underneath you who will actually turn around and say, this is not good enough. I do not agree. But here's the fine print, right? As a junior, though, you must be okay to support something that you do not agree with once the decision is made also.
Providing you feel that you were part of the conversation.
Absolutely.
Whether that conversation went the way that you chose or not.
Absolutely.
I say this with executive teams all the time.
Absolutely.
That you will have conversations in this room that not all of you will agree with. But when the larger collective has voted on an idea of doing something, you have to walk out as a collective.
Absolutely. And support it wholeheartedly.
100%.
So as long as we are within those parameters, I think leadership will do fine. But if it doesn't, we're just going to circle back.
If it doesn't, I'm going to come back to you.
We're going to circle back.
I'll have to do another trip to Sri Lanka. And we'll have to do another interview.
Absolutely.
But no, you're absolutely right. And I appreciate your wisdom and your thoughts. I know that we will have this continuing conversation,
Absolutely.
even after the camera is
off.
off.
Switched off, absolutely. Probably a richer conversation will follow after that, yes.
And if we do, then I'm coming back with a camera.
I think we should do that, yes.
But thank you so much.
Thank you
it's
very,
been a
very
real
much.
pleasure, and I'm glad
Absolutely.
that we've managed to be able to sit down and have this conversation.
Yes, in a sarong, which is quite nice.
Absolutely.
With the dogs.
I was going to wear my sarong. It's in the bedroom, so Vidusha has lent me
I'm
a
trying to convince him to get into a sarong as well.
In fact, would you just stand up, because I don't know if they can actually see the sarong.
Yeah, there you go. That's me in a sarong.
Now,
There
can
you
I
go.
just say that my worry with wearing a sarong is that mine is going to fall down at the wrong moment.
Takes a little bit of expertise,
So
yes.
I was literally Googling on YouTube how to put on a Sri Lankan sarong, so I think I'll be all right.
Yep.
Listen, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you very much.
I look forward to seeing this out there, to be honest.
Indeed.